Hello and welcome to episode 15 of Chicago Business Podcast, where we introduce leading executives in the area and learn about how innovation is changing their businesses. I am your host, Drew Sakula, and today we welcome Michael Jimez, Senior Vice President and Chief Commercial Lending Officer at Community Bank of Elmhurst, based in the western suburbs of Chicago. Hi, Mike. Thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Thanks for having me, Drew. I thought you were going to let that techno music roll in a little bit longer.
Oh, yeah. The earlier episodes, I let it run a little bit, but I didn't want people to get bored.
Right when you're getting into it, it cuts out.
Yeah. Well, the best is yet to come.
All right.
I played around a little bit with having it be some of the transition music in the middle too, but we'll see. I got to get back to that a little.
Okay.
Yeah. I've been working with my son on the editing. It's one of the things that one of the reasons I did was to get some time with him and to play around with Adobe Premiere Pro, and yeah, it's been a lot of fun, but.
Getting him started in the podcast game.
Yeah. Well, he's doing all the online streaming and all the gaming. You got to get something out of the video gaming.
I feel like such a novice now. At one point in my life, I felt like an expert with technology. Now I just feel like I have no clue what's going on.
Yeah, no, it's hard. It's hard to keep up. But I'm just trying to keep the balls in the air.
You seem to be doing well here with all the technology.
Oh, what? I figured out a little bit along the way. Each day a little bit more. Hopefully, I'm not
now
sure.
The kids think you're hip because of it.
Oh no!
You look in here and see the microphone. Like, wow,
I've not been
that's
accused
pretty
of
cool.
being hip or cool one time. I got to think by them. No, it's a constant. They like to call me all different names.
All right,
hip and cool or not.
That's right.
So anyway, all right. Well, we have our beverage of the day here.
And what you hear us sipping is not the beverage of the day.
That's not it. Although we do have the camera going as well. We do have a couple of nice ice waters to clear the palate, and then busting out a bottle of Blanton's today.
Yes, Blanton's. Yeah.
You were one of the people who first introduced me to the world of bourbon. They're really not very long ago.
Wow.
And I started to make my way through.
You're welcome, I guess. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah, no, it's been a fun journey along the way. I haven't done too much damage yet. Didn't get too crazy, but this was one of the bottles I did splurge for when I came across it. I was down down outside of Nashville back in July, and we found my way to a good liquor store there.
And they had it in stock, huh?
Yeah, he pulled it out from behind the counter.
Did you have to ask for it?
I asked what he had back there that anything special that I might be able to get my hands on. So.
Yeah, that's the bourbon craze has just been pretty insane the past few years, where I have seen bottles of Blanton's go for over $100. Retail, it should go for $60.
Right.
It's a 93 proof bourbon. It's delicious, but it's not like you're paying for a full proof, 130 proof bourbon that you can stretch so much longer. So, it's definitely one that I enjoy a lot. And I've only been able to find one bottle around this area for, normal price. So there's a lot of bourbons out there that I have kind of dabbled around with. And, I just don't think I would be willing to pay an excessive amount for something that I may only enjoy slightly more than, say, a $40 to $60 bottle, which there are plenty of. One of them, which I wanted to tell this story, is Four Roses Single Barrel. The first time you tried that, we were at Gibson's, and it's still one of my favorites. And it's a good price point. It's always delicious. And it's readily available, so you can find it anywhere.
Right.
And and Drew here was looking for a recommendation. So I said, all right, this is one of my favorites. Give it a shot. I think you started off with maybe one or two ice cubes, and after a couple sips, the whole cup of cubes was in it. You were basically choking on the stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, I felt so bad.
No,
It's 100 proofer, so.
Right, yeah, no, they're all a little bit of an acquired taste, certainly. So, I've been making my way through. We'll see how I do today. But, yeah, cheers.
All right.
Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah. And it is Friday, for those watching or listening.
Late
It's
afternoon.
Friday before Halloween.
That's right.
Yes. One of my favorite haunted restaurants is right down the street from here.
Oh, yeah?
Country
House.
Ever been?
I have. It's a well frequented local spot here.
At least I think that is a
There's
story,
some there are some stories, but share the one that you.
There's just some sounds, and there was supposed to be a baby crying that's not there, and some knocks on the floor, just weird stuff that employees have seen and heard over the years. And what makes me a little skeptical is now, this is years ago, but I would ask the hostess about it, and then they had this, I don't know if they got tired of talking about it because they're asked so much. At one time it was published in a lot of books and articles and specials on TV before all of these paranormal reality shows was out. This is long before that. And so she pulls out this this sheet of an article that was published in the local paper, and so they have it right there at the front. So I'm wondering if they kind of build on that to bring people in. But if it's true, it's just kind of intriguing, for those people who are into it. So at one time I was big into that kind of thing. So just fascinated and trying to go to all the spots where it's supposed to be real haunted, and we thought we experienced some stuff there, but again, I don't know if it was they knew we were asking about it. And
even while you were there at the restaurant, you had your guard up a little bit, and you thought that. What'd you feel?
Well, we heard some weird noises and looked around, and I think that baby I mentioned, that's why I'm not sure if we were being duped or not, because that's supposed to be one of the signs. But I looked around and nobody else was looking. So we're like, this has got to be fake, and nobody else was looking. We're like, wow, this is really kind of weird. So, but the burgers were good.
Yeah, right. They are known for their burgers.
Yeah. So anyways, 'tis the season.
Yeah, right. That is. So let's take a step back. Let's kind of start at the beginning. Your origin story. You've been in Chicago for a long time. Is this where you were born and raised?
Yeah, born and raised in the burbs, Villa Park. I listened to a lot of your podcasts, and everybody has an interesting story to tell about where they came from. Mine's just about the most boring you're going to get. My whole life has taken place between 3 towns: Villa Park, Elmhurst, and Lombard, and they're all connected. So this is pretty much, that's all I've ever been to. But you know what? I've traveled around a little bit. Obviously know a ton of people from outside of the region, and this is just. It's a great spot. I love, especially now it's fall, I love the changing of the seasons, and thought about moving, and can't bring myself to do it. So I love being near a big city, a lot of stuff to do aside from COVID, of course. And I stayed local for college too. Went to Elmhurst College, now Elmhurst University.
That's right.
I got sent for my new diploma. Changed my resume.
There you go.
I got to change LinkedIn. And so now it looks more prestigious. I stayed close to home for college, and afterwards, I majored in finance and economics and didn't know what I wanted to do. And along the way, I was actually in my parents' kitchen. I was still living there at the time. I was probably 19, and my dad's friend was over, and he's like, "Hey, Mike, what are you going to do with your life?" I have no clue. Any suggestions? He goes, "Well, maybe think about banking." I said, why you say that? What's so good about banking? He goes, well, you get to take a lot of people golfing. And at the time, I'd never golfed a day in my life. So I'm like, forget that. So, fast forward to this year, I played more golf than I've ever played in my life. I think COVID had something to do with that.
Yeah.
But, so...
one of the few things you could actually get out and do, though.
Yeah, right. So I actually didn't go into banking right away. I had an internship in banking, actually decided I hated it. And, well, that was only because I was stuck in a basement with the accountant of that region's bank. It was Harris Bank. And it was basically more of an accounting internship, and that's not what I studied. And, I understand a lot more accounting nowadays than I did back then, but I really wasn't interested in it. So I ended up working at a hedge fund for a year, Citadel, down in the city.
Oh.
Ken Griffin runs it.
Uh-huh.
He's the one that's behind all the money fighting the progressive tax, which we'll probably talk about later. But anyway, so I worked there for a year, just decided it was long hours and it was very dry work. And, I sat back and thought, what am I doing every day? How am I helping somebody? And I couldn't answer that question. I'm not helping anybody. I'm not helping myself. I'm basically processing data, and I'm in an operations group all day at a desk all day long. And for some people, it's great. They love that job. It's their dream job. For me, I can't do that. So I had to be helping people in some way improve their lives, solve their problems, and I feel good at the end of the day. So you know what, there might be something to that banking thing. So I tried out for the Harris Bank training program. It was my second try, and I got in. First try, they were only hiring 5 people. They told me I was number 6. They probably told 10 other people they were number 6. Keep their options open. And so anyways, it was such a great introduction into commercial banking. I've been in commercial my whole career. I was with Harris for 5.5, 6 years, decided to try something smaller, went to MB Financial, still a public bank, but much smaller than Harris was.
In fact, that's when we met. I think was out at RML when you were with MB Financial.
Right. RML Specialty Hospital. I was on one of their development committees, and Drew and his company sponsored one of the events, and we met at one of the after party, basically. So kept in touch ever since.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, after that, I about 3 years at MB, and the opportunity came up. Fortunately, most times in my career, I wasn't really looking to make a move. It kind of found me, and it's just as you grow in your career, understanding who you are and what your strengths are and what you enjoy. And I realized that I would probably fit in really well at a community bank. So I moved to Suburban Bank and Trust in, when was that? 2013. And it's a great place, family-owned community bank. And then it was acquired 2 years later. So when Trust came in, they really wanted Elmhurst, and they acquired Suburban, and there weren't a lot of opportunities at that time for open commercial positions at Wintrust. It wasn't like everybody's retained on the team. There are a lot of people who weren't, unfortunately. So, you got to do what you got to do as a big organization. They're a public bank, and you got to find ways to cut costs. So they had a lot of capacity on a team they had just brought over. And so I was kind of forced to look elsewhere. And I know it sounds like I jumped jobs, but I don't. I would have still been at Suburban if it weren't for that. So I went to work for a great bank called Signature for 4 years. They're a commercial bank, and wonderful people over there, and still keep in touch with a lot of them. And the only reason I'm not there anymore is because I got this kind of dream job, Community Bank of Elmhurst. So again, family-owned community bank, and I have a role as Chief Commercial Lending Officer. So I'm heading up the commercial lending team over there. We're a small shop. Everybody sits in one location, basically. We're very, very common sense, easy to work with, reasonable people, and I've loved it. Been there a year now. It's just celebrated my 1 year anniversary. So yeah, I know I'm long-winded, but that's pretty much my story in banking.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. You've for having been in one location and grown up in one spot, you have moved around a little bit, but all still based in that same community. I mean, you really have some strong ties to the community as well. Maybe talk a little bit about what you did there at RML, and I know you've done some things with the city of Elmhurst as well.
Sure.
Can you talk a little bit about your civic activities?
Yeah, my first experience in any kind of networking or charitable involvement, or even just civic group, I guess, with the Chamber of Commerce. So Elmhurst Chamber of Commerce, it's one of the larger chambers in the region, and I got involved with them. I was an intern. So that was my first, that's actually kind of how I got into banking, is because I didn't know anybody, and I just started cold calling banks. Hey, do you have an internship? And Harris Bank picks up the phone and said, yeah, we do. So I interned at the chamber for 1.5 years before having an internship in banking, where I ended up, not having a thrilling experience. But anyway, so it comes full circle when I became re-involved in the community at Harris Bank, that I got involved with the Elmhurst Chamber of Commerce. Ended up joining a few committees, the Governmental Affairs Committee, Ways and Means, and then ended up joining the board, which I served on for 6 years. And that was until I stayed involved until I started working in Rosemont, which then I couldn't really make a lot of the meetings. But prior to that, you mentioned RML, so been on their development committee, and basically put events on to raise money for the hospital. And then more locally in Elmhurst, I've been part of the JCs for about a decade, and unfortunately due to COVID, we're not doing a lot right now, especially a lot of charitable groups aren't. But hopefully we'll come out of this and be reinvigorated and doing things for the community again. And then on the business side, networking groups and associations. So I'm currently part of the Technology and Manufacturing Association. They're based in Schaumburg and serve small to mid-sized manufacturers in the Chicagoland area. And then I've in the past been also part of Midwest Business Brokers and Intermediaries. A bunch of people in the room were talking about buying and selling businesses. So I've dabbled in a lot, and it's good to be involved. Just to give back in any way you can, and then develop great contacts along the way. So I wouldn't have met you if I wasn't doing something like that.
Right.
So,
yeah, no, it's great to be out there and plugged into the community, yeah.
And so the one thing I joined, this is the most recent group I joined, and that hits closer to home for me now, where I live in Lombard. So I joined the Village of Lombard Finance Committee.
Ah.
So I hats off to not just the Village of Lombard, but municipalities all over, because they've had a lot to deal with this past year. A lot of people don't see that, but sales tax revenue is way down. So for the villages and cities to balance their budget and make things work for their residents is amazing. So all I do is I give input on budgeting, and once in a while I'll talk about considering a tax, whether it's raising or lowering, or vehicle stickers, or anything like that. So it's interesting. I'm learning a lot. I've probably been involved for about 3-4 years now. So
yeah, well, that's great. You really bring an interesting perspective, and one that we haven't had on the show yet, in terms of with the banking background. So I appreciate having you on, and I think you definitely have a unique perspective where we can talk, about some of these issues. Obviously, with between COVID and the election, that's everything. It seems these days, especially as we find ourselves here the week before the election. But maybe let's start with the COVID thing, and talk about how your bank has had to respond, and how you've been involved. And
sure. Yeah. So it's been really interesting. Back before COVID hit, so I'm on the management team, and and we get together as a group. There's a handful of us, probably like 6 of us or so that get together regularly. During COVID, we were talking daily, every single day. Even if there wasn't anything to add, we were always in front of each other. First thing we did was...
This is the most senior leadership of the bank.
Yeah. President, Chief Operating Officer, me, the lady who handles our branches, our IT guy, I'm forgetting a couple of Treasury Management. So yeah, we're all there, kind of making this happen. So when COVID started, we had to, we were an essential business, so we had to stay open. The question was, how do we stay open? How do we limit traffic in the branch? We don't have any plexiglass originally, so what do? We had to build plexiglass, barriers in front of the desks, get our hands on supplies. I mean, we're a small business, we're a family-owned community bank. So we had just as much trouble as the next company out there in the neighborhood who was looking for Clorox wipes and gloves and masks. So yeah, you could not find Clorox wipes anywhere, right, or anything, Lysol spray. And meanwhile, we're an essential business. There's customers coming in to make deposits and meet with bankers during this whole thing. I mean, the height of this, when nobody knew what was going on, we still had to stay open and try to figure it out. Now, I was sent home for a while. So we had a plan where we didn't want everybody working in the same spot, because how the quarantine works, even if you don't get sick, you're home for 2 weeks. So me and our chief operating officer, who's also, pretty much oversees all of the lending. He used to kind of be in my role before I came on board. We didn't want to be in the same place at the same time. So if he got it or was exposed, then I could come in, and vice versa. So I was home from March until June. And what was really weird is right before all of it hit, I had some awful case of food poisoning. And I had just had these, I won't say the restaurant, I don't think it was. I'm just going to say it was the flu. Because these Italian beef egg rolls, oh my God, so good. I would go through another bout of that stomach flu for one of those. It was so good. I would recommend it every single day of the week. So the day after, I met somebody and we had a couple drinks and those egg rolls, and it was that night. I'm like, oh man, I don't feel so good. And it was one of the worst cases of, I'll just call it the stomach flu, that I've had my whole life. I couldn't even get out of bed. Ooh. So at the time, I'm thinking, I got COVID. Nobody knew what the symptoms were back then. This is end of maybe early March. So you had just heard flu-like symptoms, cold symptoms, and I got the strength to look on my phone and figure out, if it was the same. And he said, you might have those symptoms, but it's more so the cough and the fever. And I said, okay, I think I'm good. So after 2 days, I gained some strength. I was able to eat again. And I called in on a Friday, and that was the day they told me you're staying home from work. So of course I didn't have anything, and I couldn't go back in. So we made it work. But that was such a strange time for me, just how it's like I got hit with this sickness, and then all of a sudden everybody's home. So it was really strange.
Did you ever get tested?
I've not.
Yeah.
Yeah. But my son did. He had a fever, and they just tested him to test him while he was in the doctor's office, and he didn't have it. I think he's the only one in my family that has gotten tested. But I'm on vitamins, man. I don't know. There's different schools of thought out there, but anything to make your immune system better, right?
Yeah.
So I got vitamin C, D, and zinc, which are basics,
They are. It's, I'm not great about taking my vitamins, but everything that I've heard is that those are some of the most basic things you could be doing, that they should really be pushing that as much as they are washing hands and using hand sanitizer. I mean, in terms of taking your vitamins and I guess I am taking vitamin D, B12. So
Yeah, that's another one. I haven't gotten those yet, but I did read recently that was pretty effective in combating COVID.
Yeah.
So, or at least, get your immune system where it needs to be to, So I might think about doing that too. But, I'm not a crazy, health, nutrition freak. I don't work out a lot though, and it's the least I could be doing for my own health, and everybody out there who's doing the mask and the hand washing and social distance, but adding the vitamins into everybody's waiting for a vaccine, right? But
hopefully
if you have, if your immune system is strong enough, if you get it, you might not even know you have it. I'm hoping. I just looked these up. I wish I brought them in, but Illinois Health Department statistics, they have a great, it's very rich in data. So if you look it up, you could see all the cases and all the deaths. And I just did a simple calculation on age groups of people under 20, in their 20s, in their 30s, in their 40s, and so forth and so on. And up until 40, it was still something like recovery rate was 99.98%.
Right.
In their 40s, it was like 90, I think it was 99, and then it was 98 point something, and then it really starts to get dicey when it's over, let's call it over 70. Right. So, but just take your precautions and be as healthy as you can,
Right.
But that was important statistics to let people know about, because you don't hear that. You don't hear the recovery rate.
Right.
You hear how many people are getting it, and it's a big deal, but they make it really, really, really scary. And I know people that it's hit hard, and I know people who know people that have passed from it, but the large majority have recovered. So it's just important to get that out there, to let people know there are people who are getting over this.
Right.
So
yeah, no, there's a lot, but
yeah.
Yeah, I think that if you would have asked everybody back in March and you would have looked at the numbers, you probably would have taken what we got. But we certainly did a good job flattening the curve, if nothing else.
Oh, yeah, totally.
But now trying to figure out how to stomp it out, that's the hard part.
Yeah.
But hopefully, we get the vaccine. And
yeah, it's tough. Where I sit in banking is, trying to walk that fine line between public health and business is tough, because the only way to truly get the economy going again is to open back up. So if you could do it safely, that's the key. We just saw the GDP numbers yesterday. It boomed in the third quarter. Obviously, when you shut everything down, then you open back up again, it's gonna boom.
Right.
You're just normally gonna happen. All the pent up demand. But I think Q4 will probably, though there will be positive growth, but it definitely won't be as strong, because after the initial wave is over. So, but we'll see. Things are good, and in terms of
what about kind of the PPP and some of that where you had to react at the bank, and
oh my
and
gosh,
all the lending that I'm sure you've been active, right?
Very. We're a team of maybe 5 people that handle all of it. And we did 250 PPP loans. That pales in comparison to some of our friends in the banking community that did, hundreds more than that, or even thousands. So we all, as an industry, we came together and we made it happen. And it was, I was very proud to be part of that. And that was one of the most insane things I've ever been through in banking, my whole career. Hardest I've ever worked. And I was working from home. So I'll take you back to when this all started. Is I got a call from a client that said, I heard that they're coming out with forgivable loans. I'm like, no, I just heard about the economic injury disaster loan, which is a normal loan. You got to pay it back. He's like, no, it's something different than that. I said, I haven't heard anything about it. So I don't know where he's getting information from, but he had an early step on that. So sure enough, legislation passes and PPP is rolled out. And I was like, please let it be through the SBA. Please let it be through the SBA. See, EIDL loans were directly through the SBA.
Right.
So you applied on their website, and then they did the underwriting, and if you got approved, they sent you the money. Well, this was different. They wanted to get the money in the hands as quickly as possible, and the only way to do that is not through a small staff at the SBA, it's through all the banks in the country. So if you were already approved by the SBA, you were in a good spot. Luckily, we had an agreement. If you weren't, they were still getting you signed up. It was just going to take a little bit longer. So, we got all our ducks in a row. We got signed up for the SBA's portal where you have to input all these applications, and started sending out the applications. And the moment we started getting them back, it was go time. So I still remember day one, portal's open, it's Friday. Nobody could get in. It was brutal. And at the time, if you remember, there was word on the street that these funds were going to run out.
Mm-hmm.
So you add COVID panic, businesses with a threat that they might have to shut their doors, free money, and now you're thinking, if my banker doesn't do this for me, I'm going to, I'm just about to, explode. I talk about having angry clients. I mean, it goes beyond that. This is this is insanity. So, the first day, that turns into panic on our end when we're on the SBA portal and we can't get in. I mean, the simple login, it is, you get the spinning ball. It's just thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking and all timed out. And I'm at home. I'm on the phone with Dave, our COO, and going, hey, can you get on? Nope, can't get on. And we were just basically on the phone with each other all day, like, can you get on yet? Nope, can't get on. I think we were able to log on once that day, and maybe we didn't get any applications in that day. We were freaking out because, again, all our clients were like, you better get this done for me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got a mass exodus from the bank if you don't.
Right.
Saturday morning, we wake up early, we log on, boom, we're in. Everybody else at the mega banks has gone home. They're not working the weekend. So we worked through the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, got a ton of applications in, and then we continued. That next week, it was a struggle. Come Monday, it was a struggle. It was thinking again. It was taking forever. And then a week after that, we got in as many as we could. There was still a little bit of money left. And then the SBA changed rules. And they pulled back the throttle on the big banks all day until 4 p.m. So all the small banks could get their stuff in early. And then the big banks could come in and do all their batch processing later that night. So thank goodness they did it. I mean, unfortunately they didn't fix it earlier than that, but they fixed it. So, credit to the SBA for coming up with a solution, because they did. And then from that point on, it was fine. I very rarely had a timeout, and I'm happy to say that out of all of completed applications we received, we got all of them processed.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
You probably had to cut off some taking any more though, right? Because eventually they ran out of money.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, so I say completed application.
Right.
There were a few stragglers that just didn't have their application in or their financials in, but we got them on the second round. So the first round ran out. I forgot how long it was later, but they approved more funding.
Mm.
And so round two came up, and we got another wave of applications in. And then they didn't even go through that money.
Right.
They're sitting on, I forgot how much it was, but it was a substantial amount that they did not end up giving out. And I think to this day they still have it, but they stopped as of August 8th, I think they stopped taking applications. I mean, we got a few stragglers here and there, very small stuff.
Did you do any work for non-bank customers, or everybody were existing customers?
Oh, thanks for asking. Yeah, that's one of the things I'm equally is proud of, is that we were able to help those who needed it most, including non-customers. So you'd have good companies too. I mean, these are quality, good size, profitable firms that aren't getting the time of day from it was, I got a name because it was Chase a lot, and there was a few other bigger banks, but the name I heard the most frequently was Chase, and they were having a really hard time getting the time of day from their banker, even if they had a banker. So I got a few calls that so-and-so referred you to us, and I referred me to you, and I'm in a panic. I need this money, and can you help me? And there was one situation where a chiropractor called up, and they were freaking out. And I said, can you get me your stuff? Like, it was 3 o'clock. I'm like, can you get me your stuff by 4? I said, sure. I got all the stuff in. I put it in the system, and then I called them back before 5, and I said, you're approved. I mean, it felt, you love it when you do good work for people and make a difference. Like I said before, the reason I got into banking in the first place is to help people at the very basic, simplistic, purpose. My mission in banking is to help people, and through helping their companies, it helps all their employees by putting food on the table and providing for their families. So I felt really good about that. So yeah, we did, I looked at the numbers, and I think about 40% of our PPPs were non-customers.
Oh, wow.
So again, we're a small bank. We took care of all of our customers pretty quickly. So yeah, it was a huge team effort. I was very, very proud of our team for doing that, especially with not everybody on site. So
yeah, you guys had to get creative there, I'm sure, with your workflow, and there's probably not a lot of loans that you're able to pull off that you get that kind of satisfaction though too, right? In terms of knowing it made a difference. I mean, you probably find yourself in some pretty competitive, chasing business sound, right? Where at the end of the day, you're like, okay, it's a good deal for both sides, and you feel good for getting it done, but it's a little bit different when you know what's on the line.
Oh man, definitely. It was, this was probably one of the more important financial events in, there were some companies that were doing fine, but the large majority of loans we made, they didn't know. This is the highest peak of uncertainty in their entire working life, probably. Like, your business might be okay, but what's around the corner? You have no clue. And some are, they weren't going to take it, and they've called me afterwards and said, I'm glad I took the money, because we hit some bumps. But yeah, to your point, it's it was very, very satisfying being able to help everybody, and this is why we do what we do. But it's definitely different than like a normal transaction where it's the time crunch was insane. I mean, you just worked and worked and worked and worked, and then afterwards you look back and you're like, wow, we got a lot accomplished for a lot of people, and it feels good to be a part of that. So we'll see if round 3 is, they're going to call it round 2, but it's really round 3. So we'll see if that's next. I have a feeling it's going to be.
Well, they got to get something done right after the election. I think there's going to be
November 10th is when I think Congress is back in session. So that's after the election. So I'm assuming we'll receive some word of that. There's certainly a lot of sectors that need it. The ones that come to mind, especially here, are restaurants, anything to do with travel, hotels, trade show industries, hammered.
Yeah.
And then, movie theaters and comedy clubs and concert venues and all of those little businesses that you don't maybe think about every day, but they're just, they need the help bad. So I have a feeling something's going to get done. It's just a matter of what it's going to look like.
Yeah. And how much it'll be, it's, every penny's going to count for those guys, but they've had to make so many difficult decisions in the meantime. But it's just seeing what we can do to help get that back.
Right.
When we can get things back open. So
yeah.
All right. So a fair amount. Would you call it innovation at the bank that you've had to be doing, or how much of the stuff that are going to result in changes that are going to stick?
I don't know if I call it innovation. Yeah. You've picked one of the most boring industries to interview today. So
this is all good stuff.
There's not a lot that goes on in banking these days. There's some pretty innovative treasury management tools out there if you're a bigger business. But where we play, we're being a local community bank, we handle mainly businesses in our backyard. Small to a few mid-sized companies, and they do a lot of online banking, all electronic banking, and we can handle all that. But that stuff's been around for a long time. We have moved, especially with COVID, I guess the innovation, which is not unique to the industry, but I guess it would be unique to us, is we never really had much of a need for anything touchless, whether that's using your phone to get cash, or even to the point of a fingerprint ID on the mobile app. So we've had that consumers, we're finally adding it for businesses, just things to make it easier for people to do business with us. Some updates on the ACH side where you can you need the information. Community banks in the past sometimes have been very limited with treasury management and online banking, and we've worked pretty hard at changing that. So we're very good at taking tips from our clients and requests, and one of the things I really love about the bank is we'll get those requests in, and we'll work really hard to try to make them happen. So I've gotten a few things done for some clients last year that the bank wasn't doing before. So, a lot to do with online banking. But, if you can scan, if you get a check, if anybody deals with checks, I still get some. I still once in a while. I don't know if do you get paper checks?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, most is electronic, right?
Right.
Auto debit to your account. Mm-hmm. So the way people interact with banks nowadays is not as much in person. Definitely not as much in paper. As long as banks can offer electronic banking, ACH, mobile deposit, remote deposit for businesses that get checks, depending if they have a line of credit, if that's set up, they can draw on their line on their website too. That's it's hard to come up with innovations. It's pretty much relationships now. Right?
Relationships are critically important, but there's still a bar that you have to meet. I think in terms of you need to have an app, and people need to be able to check balances and do, these basic banking now, right? So how does that work with general customers then? Is their software? You guys don't develop your own software?
No. We use a third-party processor. So, which is also how Signature does it, and I was at Signature for 4 years, and I think the better model is outsourcing. And I'm a lender. I'm not a tech guy, but what I've seen in action is when you get an update or you get a new product, or a new capability of online banking in general, you don't have to, hire a bunch of consultants to build it out for you. They're building it out already, and if you want to use it, you enter into an agreement to offer it to your customers. So it's there for you. It's already being done.
Right. That's the thing is that your needs as a community bank are not, all that different than the next community bank. I'm sure that there's customizations, and each bank is different, but still there's a menu of choices to, and features that you want to make available.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'd say as long as you have the basics covered, and you're open to adding new things upon customer request, you're in a pretty good spot. It seems like most of the innovations nowadays, now that everybody has an app and everybody has online banking, is really just the interface, how it looks and feels, and how, when you're going through it, how easy it is. So, that's pretty much what I've been seeing. It seems like I get an update all the time from various apps I'm using. So, but but at its core, I mean, and I think this is lost a lot in banking, is being able to pick up the phone and either call or, in my case, text your banker directly and have that direct line of conversation with the person that you're doing business with. That is increasingly lost in our society nowadays. And as a community bank, we're not that. We are the people you're going to call and have a personal conversation with. So, my cell phone is on all my business cards, and I tell all my clients, if you got something you need, just send me a text or give me a call, and we'll be on it. So we try to be old school, and I don't think we're ever changing. So,
right. Yeah, no, there's a lot to be said. I mean, the pendulum, I guess, shifts, and technology advancements and all of that are nice, and they've kind of raised everybody's game and needed to, right? But I think that seeing that come back to the way of relationships is definitely makes sense because of that part is critically important. I know that just me, anecdotally in my in our personal stuff, we do everything. All of our stuff has been through Bank of America. Yeah. It's a lot of accounts, and it's a lot of money to us, obviously, what we have there. But I don't have like a person there. I have a couple of people.
You might not need it.
Yeah, but there's been times. There's been times when I wish I had somebody that I could call, and it wasn't just the 800 number.
Right, and it's everybody has a different feeling on it. Whether I know people who, they just want to 100% rely on technology and interact with as little amount of people as possible. Like, hey, to each their own. There's other people who I guess this is just kind of who I am and why I work at a family-owned community bank too. But this is kind of how I interact in all my whole life. If I met my insurance guy through a networking group I'm a part of. Let's see, my mortgage guy I've known personally for years. You like my HVAC guy is a local guy who lived around the corner from me, and so I operate in from a relationship capacity and pretty much how I run my household and just how everything I need in my life. I try to know somebody or know somebody who knows somebody to get that referral. My plumber I went to high school with, so I try. I'm just more comfortable that way if you can rely on somebody, right? And I have a feeling that comes through with small businesses too, especially during these past few months when somebody's needed something. That's why we got all those non-customer PPP loans, because they didn't have somebody.
Right.
And now they do. I got a call from a guy today. I think he did bank at B of A. Yeah, he did. And he just called me today, and I hadn't talked to him in a while, but called my cell phone, picked up, hey, how you doing? So yeah, he's thinking about doing some investing, and anyway, I love what I do. That's the thing is, I didn't always love what I do. It depends. If you're at the right place, and you like at its core your job and your function, and you'll end up loving what you do. So yeah.
Nice. Oh, it's great to be in a good spot like that. So let's talk about kind of your target market then, and what's your what kind of business are you looking to bring in there?
Sure. Yeah, as a community bank, we've always served businesses in our backyard. But what I've done most of my career is, I've always said businesses pretty much, the large part of my career, businesses under 50 million in sales. Now I'd say it's probably under 30 million in sales. There's not many industries we won't touch. We're generalists, so I focused a lot of my calling on manufacturers, distributors, anybody in an industrial park. I've done a ton of calling in local industrial parks, service firms, professional firms, doctors, lawyers, attorneys, or CPAs, insurance guys. So kind of all of the above. We don't have a niche. We do a lot of, this is one thing I do now that I've done a little bit in the past and definitely do a lot more now than I did in previous roles, is investment real estate. So we do a lot of apartment buildings, mixed use buildings, so local real estate investors that hold property for cash flow. So we do a lot of that. And I think a lot of community banks do in general, but I've seen a lot of it through COVID. People who have cash or equity in other properties that are looking to leverage those and take advantage of the low rate environment and invest in new properties if they can find them. There's activity out there. They're kind of coming off the sidelines and seeing this as an opportunity to grow their portfolios. So,
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, Community Bank of Elmhurst, do you guys do work across Chicagoland, just in the western suburbs, or what's kind of the geographic reach that you guys have?
I would say Chicago suburbs, but we've done a few deals out of state. We don't go too much into Wisconsin and Indiana, but we will if one of our clients takes us there. But yeah, we're mainly suburbs. In the past, it's been really, the surrounding communities around Elmhurst. But over time, you expand, and I don't know if it's it's a disadvantage to have the name Elmhurst in your name, because we don't just serve Elm. We serve Elmhurst really well, don't get me wrong, but we're with technology now. We can serve anybody in the entire region, and they never have to set foot in the bank. So again, it goes back to relationships. I'm your banker, no matter where you are, no matter where I am, we can take care of you. So I think, you stick to what you know. I don't know southern Wisconsin, and I don't know, western Indiana. I don't know eastern Indiana either. I know this area, and this is where we stick to. And there's plenty of business in our backyard. And since we do only have a limited staff, we're under 50 people, and we're not everything to everybody. So yeah, if I'm going out knocking on doors, it's going to be in the western suburbs. So yeah.
And looking at kind of the full commercial, you're looking to be the commercial banking partner for companies then up to 50 million.
Yeah, and like I said, I probably would be doing a disservice to a company if they're looking for some funds and we can't provide it, because since we're a small bank, we're about 150 million. So our legal lending limit's much smaller than some of the bigger guys or regional players. So we don't bite off more than we can chew, and when we do have a larger request, we have relationships where we partner with other local small banks, other family-owned banks, and participate on deals together. So it's an inconvenience if you serve a business and they grow to a certain size and now they have to find a new bank because you can't handle them anymore. So we try to avoid that by working with other friendly banks that respect each other and do things really well. So, yeah.
Nice. But you guys are fully independent. So Wintrust came through and bought a bunch of the community banks, and and left you guys alone for whatever reason.
Yeah, well, the bank I mentioned before I worked at, that was right down the street from us. So I don't see why they would want a bank like us, because they just bought our competitor, like literally, a few blocks
Mm-hmm.
down the road. So yeah, I think we're safe. We're family owned. Been so since we opened in 1993. They opened in a trailer, which is how you did it back then, I guess. You open a trailer first. There's still clients that are like, I remember coming into the trailer. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, glad I wasn't here during that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've heard other stories too about not just us, but other banks have had to open that way too. I don't know if it's just getting established. You need a location somewhere. So, but the building was built in 1994. So we're kind of where Oak Brook and Elmhurst border each other, in Villa Park, where those communities come together. We're right by Drury Lane.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's where I sit.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very good. So yeah, what's your take on the election? You think we're gonna be able to turn the corner and come on out of that a little bit more united, or what's your take on where we find ourselves here at this precarious spot?
Well, one thing I don't like about when the election is, I didn't think about this before, but it's right after Halloween. So like I like getting together with the neighbors and stuff and hanging out and having a good time, letting the kids trick or treat. And every 4 years, or actually every 2 years, now we can't, we got to be careful what we talk about because you don't want to anger anybody. You don't want them to anger you. And it's just move the election to a different time where people aren't all getting together and trying to have fun. Then you have election kind of interfering with our fun. But, I just can't wait for all this to be over. Everybody uses the election as an excuse to not do business. I don't know what's going to change the day after the election in terms of doing business. I think there's definitely two totally different philosophies, and we won't get into that, but I'll leave that up for you, the listeners and the viewers to research. But and when are you airing this? Is it going to be after the election?
We'll do it just before.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. I think it kind of ties in with who the president is. The thing that's going to take us out of this is, like I said early on in this, is opening back up. This isn't going to end until we open up. The thing I don't like that's dishonest, that the political types, they blame everything on the president, whether it's Trump or somebody else. This is not, in my opinion, this was not a presidential thing. This is the governors shutting their states down based on what they see as precaution. The government, Trump and the CDC, they give guidelines. Whether you think they should have recommended it, more stringently or not, or they were too loose on it, whatever. It's not up to Trump, and he can say, Illinois, you're shutting down. He said, no, we're not. We're not shutting down. Well, it was the opposite probably, but each state, we're the United States of America, each state, and the governors, I saw something on this, the governors are, they reject any kind of federal forcefulness on these kind of issues. So each state individually has to make their decision whether to open or not. So it's going to be a very uneven recovery because some states are going to be shut and some are going to be open. And some counties are going to be shut and some are going to be open. So I think that the economic, Trump and Biden both are saying things about how the economy is going to be different under them, but it's more of a factor of your local politics. And so everybody needs to get involved locally, because I'm very encouraged by seeing parents rally to get their kids back in school. Statistics show COVID rates, especially COVID affecting young kids, is very, 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 very low. my kids are back in school, there's been 2 or 3 incidences since the school year started, and no spreading, like super spreaders. That's what they all talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Those kids got it. They were taken out. Their siblings were taken out of school. They got tested. They waited the 2 weeks, came back, everything was fine. So, and each school district's going to have to respond to that as they all start to open back up, but they all have to come up with plans. So I guess my my takeaway on the election is, everybody puts a, big stock in the presidential election, but it's different forces that are influencing things. Like the restaurants. I never once felt threatened when I went into a restaurant. And I did quite a few business lunches.
Mm-hmm.
I actually felt very safe. I'll use Gibson's as an example. A place that me and you had met before. Mm-hmm. Not during COVID, but I went there 2 times during COVID, and it was fantastic. Everybody was spaced, everybody was using masks. I did not feel threatened at all. I had plenty of distance between me and the next guest, so it's really just going to be I don't know what to say about that without getting too political.
Yeah, no, that's plenty. That's plenty. I think that hopefully getting past the election, we'll be able to focus more a little bit on the getting businesses back open, right? And there'll be less reason to be one last distraction there. But besides there's a lot more than just the presidential election though going on as well, where we have the progressive taxes on the ballot here in Illinois. I know that I think you have some thoughts on that one as well, huh?
Yeah, I do. I have a sign in my front yard that says "Vote No."
Mm-hmm.
I have one in the back of my car. I've been trying to give that one out. You don't have to tell me if you want it or not on air, but so I'm part of the Technology and Manufacturing Association. As I said before, they represent small to mid-sized manufacturers in and around Chicago, and they've come out very hard against it. The problem I have with taxes in general, the outlook, if Biden wins and if the progressive tax is put in place, think about the tax increase that businesses in our community are going to face. You're getting a double whammy. So now businesses, and I just want to go on record and tell people how it works. I know a lot of your audience is probably educated into this accounting and know how it actually works, but in case you don't, most businesses that I deal with and have my entire career are pass-through entities. All profits are taxed from the business on your personal tax return. I don't know why presidential candidates don't get up on a debate and say this kind of stuff. Explain it to the people. Mm-hmm. They don't do that. I have no clue why they don't. You could break it down very simply. So if you get taxed, if you own a business and you get taxed on your personal tax return, and your business does really well, but for one reason or another, you leave the money in the business and you don't even take a distribution, you don't even pay yourself a salary. Now you're paying taxes on your business income personally. So you could be living as a middle class person and never become rich, but your business does really well, and you could reinvest and say you put those profits into buying machinery. Well, you're still going to pay taxes on your profits, but that doesn't come out as an expense. It goes on your balance sheet. Anyways, I'm probably getting too far into the weeds on this. The point is, if we have a federal increase and a state increase for those businesses, it's going to drive many, many of those out of state. And if it doesn't drive them out of state, it's going to very much discourage new businesses from moving in state. Because you can't avoid the federal increase. If Biden wants to kind of get us back to that progressive structure, he's going to do it. There's nothing we could do about it. But we do have the power to say no to this progressive tax. Just to let everybody know, it's not a tax on the ballot. You're voting to amend the Constitution. That's a big deal. You're giving legislators the power to change the Constitution, which allows them to meddle with your rates whenever they feel like it.
Yeah.
I got a big problem with that. I don't see what's not fair about somebody who makes $1 million on their tax return and pays 6%, or what is it, 6.25%?
595.
Or 595. I'm all mixed up. Yeah. And then somebody who's making $100,000 and paying, roughly 6%. So I don't see what's not fair about that, because talking actual dollars, there's a huge difference. Huge difference. So just the whole philosophy of penalizing the producers in our country for doing well and hiring people, these are millionaires and billionaires.
Yeah, no, it's a lot more than that. And that's not. That's the one of the issues I have with the whole thing. The biggest thing for me is that it just doesn't solve the problem. It's
totally.
a spending problem here, and
that's a great point.
So if you're gonna adjust the Constitution, then adjust it to make the adjustments that are needed, right? Fix the pension issue and the Constitution, and then I can get on. I can potentially get on board with. There's a lot of states that do a progressive tax, but to the extent that you're just putting it another way that you can tax the more wealthy and chase businesses out of the state without addressing the issue at hand, which is a spending problem.
Right.
That's the biggest problem I have with it. So.
Oh, totally. I completely agree with you there. I think it needs to be two-sided, and it's not an easy issue, because if this doesn't pass, they're probably going to raise taxes anyways. But here's the thing, they have to raise everybody's taxes. Why they don't want to do that is because then they're going to be voted out of office.
Right.
Well, tough. You didn't take the reforms on to reduce expenses and improve the fiscal health. I have a yard sign in my front yard. I made it. Yeah, I'm that crazy guy. But it's true. It's all true stuff. So it says Illinois statistics. Worst rated pension system in the nation. Second highest property taxes in the nation. And voted first for residents moving out of the state. And I think we may be number 2 now. I made this last election cycle. The sad part is all those statistics have largely remained true.
Mm-hmm.
And whether you're a Democrat or Republican, you can't argue with those statistics. The state is in very poor financial health. And, our population keeps voting the same people in year after year after year.
So you talk about some of these guys being in office too long. I agree. I think that's definitely term limits would go a long way. I think that's
huge. I mean, that's federal too. Here's the thing, like Trump had said, he mentioned term limits when he was first running, and nothing was done about that. I can imagine what an uphill battle it would be to get term limits. Senators voting themselves out. I mean, I don't see that happening, but it does need to. If a president is going to have term limits, I think senators should too.
It would be nice to have. I mean, it'd be nice to have throughout the whole system. I mean, here in Illinois, just the culture of corruption and how that's been allowed to kind of continue, and people aren't stepping up. I think that Durbin not being able to come out and even say anything bad about Madigan. Now he's saying you need to wait until he's indicted, right, before he actually takes any kind of stand.
Mike Madigan's been in power for over 30 years. 30 years. That's a lot. And look at the state's financial condition over the past 30 years. Just do it. Just Google something. Look at a chart. I don't care. Pick a statistic and look at it. I encourage you to look at it. And tell me if we're in better shape or worse shape. And that's one guy who's been at the helm the whole time. I don't care who the governor was. He's been the guy. So we need to change. I don't care which side you're on. If somebody's ruining your state, you should probably vote them out and anyone associated with them or anyone who supported that person. So it's I mean who knows what's going to happen with the ComEd scandal, but hopefully he's got to be getting up there in age too. My fear is that one of his successors is going to not be any better.
That's scary to think about, but
yeah,
very well could happen.
The term limits are huge, Drew. I don't know who needs to bring that up in local in Illinois as well as federal government, but there has to be a movement because, I mean, you don't have to do 4 years. You don't have to do 8. You could do 12. Pick something. You know, let's not have like 50-year people in office. Let's just not do that anymore.
Right. Yeah.
I don't see what the benefit is.
It's not in the public's interest, but it's a weird conundrum when you find people who are in Madigan's district or the same thing. Even Illinois, residents are looking at voting for Durbin now. They think, guys, whatever number 2 Senate Democrat, maybe we're getting something, back our way because of it, but there's just too much against it. I don't know. As I've dug into that race more and more, and obviously having Mark on, was interesting to talk to, and I have a connection with him. But Mark Curran, we tried to get Durbin out here.
I love that interview. If you guys haven't listened to it, listen to it. It's
good. That's a good one and timely, at least here for the next few days. But he, it was for me very refreshing to ask about some things that just made sense to me, like common sense reforms.
Right.
Like you should be open to if you're in that position and we have big problems. Like there's certain things that just make sense to at least have an open mind.
Sure.
So.
Oh, completely agree. Yeah.
Anyway, so no, it's great having you on. I don't know if there's anything else you want to highlight while you're here.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me on. I thought I was going to be lost for words the whole time, and it seemed that we pretty much covered a lot of stuff today, and it's politics and banking and hauntings. So drinking, we pretty much got it covered today.
There you go. Ready for that Halloween weekend. And
what's your costume, Drew?
Oh, the costume. I've never been a big costume guy, to tell you the truth. It's always been, twisting my arm to get dressed up for it. So I don't have anything set for the Halloween. You probably, on the other hand, have your place totally decked out. This is actually, you saw the decoration that we were that's a lot for us.
It was very tasteful.
Oh. There's some big spiders. You know what? We've had some kids from across the street come up and have to take a very close look. They shocked us a little bit because we looked out and we're like, who's in our driveway right there? But just some little kids that were inspecting the spiders on our bushes out front.
You're the hit of the community.
No, maybe
good.
If they're the across the street neighbors.
My costumes have, ever since I had kids, Halloween used to be my second favorite holiday next to Christmas, and I got so excited for it. Because you go to a bar and there's a costume contest, and everybody's having such a good time, and I appreciated a really good costume. And so for a few years there, I was really getting into it, where my best costume ever was Beetlejuice. Now you can buy a Beetlejuice costume, but back when I was doing it, you couldn't go to Spirit and buy that. So my mom, who's always been great in art, has helped me turn a thrift store black suit, kind of like the one I'm wearing now, and put masking tape along the entire suit, painted the whole thing, and pulled the tape off and made a Beetlejuice suit. It's incredible. I still have it. It was great. And so then I bought a skull cap. I latexed the hair on. I glued the moss on my forehead and stuff. I had the eye makeup and everything. I learned the voice, and I had the business cards. I really got into it. And then, I don't know if you remember this place in Downers Grove called Rip Rocks.
No.
It was it was a dance club, a suburban dance club. There are not a lot of those left. But they used to have this killer Halloween party, and I went there as Beetlejuice, in character the whole night, and I just had a ball, man. It was so fun. So I miss those days.
Nice,
you know? Yeah.
Can't pull that off this year.
No. That was all. My second favorite one was total polar opposite. I was Pee Wee Herman. Yeah, I know. I went to Goose Island downtown for a costume contest.
All right, yeah.
I won $200.
Did you?
Yeah. They like Pee Wee for some reason.
Nice.
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
Check this out.
You know, so I was in character, right? I was, and it was a little creepy because everybody knows Pee Wee's background.
That's right.
So, oh man, and then my third favorite one is I was the Adam West Batman.
Okay.
Yeah, like with the Speedo over his tights. that was funny.
Huh?
Yeah, that was a fun costume. So I used to love getting decked out in Halloween costumes, and now it's just shifted towards the kids. You know, like I take the kids trick or treating, and you know, there's not a lot of time for dad to get dressed up. So I have this big. It's a giant fish. It's from some Pixar movie or something like years ago, and like I put the fish on and it kind of covers up my torso, and I walk around with these big like spiked teeth, like I'm in the fish's mouth. That's my costume now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow. So you're still getting down.
It's something.
Yeah.
So
you guys will be walking the streets looking for the yes and no signs in the windows?
yeah, I don't think Lombard's doing that.
Oh, no?
I kind of wish they were, because now it's on Saturday, so it's during the day.
Right.
So now if you have the light on at night, you're the house that's going to have candy. If you have the light off, you go past it. They can't do that now. It's during the day. So the sign idea is a good one.
Yeah, I think that's what they're doing around here. So
yeah, that would be nice. But yeah, we'll take the kids out and see how much of the bag we can get full.
there you go.
So I can raid their candy afterwards.
Yeah, just what I need.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I've been cutting back the carbs all week just so I can splurge tomorrow.
There we are. Well, one day it's not going to kill you.
That's true. But thanks
Sounds
for having
good.
me.
Yeah, thanks for coming out, and we'll definitely stay in touch.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Thanks, Drew.
All right.
All right.